Hey everybody, welcome once again to our Formula for Success weekly webinar. And once again, we've got another webinar jam-packed full of content, and this time our title is How to Sleep Better, 3 Quick and Easy Steps to Sleep Better Tonight. And that's exactly what will happen. If you implement the strategies and the 3 steps that I'm going to share with you on this call, you're going to sleep better tonight. And that's what's brilliant about this one. You can act on these immediately after the webinar. I know for some of you, like I can see Monique, well done. I see you're from Holland, and a few others from Holland actually. And it's what is it, 11:15 right now. So past some of your bedtimes. So it's great to see your dedication and being on the call. But you, before you go to bed tonight, can implement some of these strategies, and it will make a difference to your sleep. That's something I can guarantee you. And it's as well for anyone in Ireland, UK, or any part of Europe. And for those in the States, who I see a lot on as usual, the States and Canada, and then those who it's early morning for over in Asia and Australia, you do the same tonight. So this is the beauty of this webinar. You will feel instant results, okay? So enjoy, write plenty of notes, and also make sure to ask loads of questions. Throughout the presentation, type questions into the question box, and I'll answer them. Some I'll answer during it, some I'll answer at the end, okay? So just make sure again to do that and make the most of it. Because like I always stress on all these presentations, it's not the knowledge, it's the power, it's the implementation of the knowledge. So it's no good you listen to great content and tips and stuff to make sense over the next 45, 50 minutes or so and not acting on it. So make sure again to act on it, okay? So what I'm going to start with is I want to ask you these questions and, start typing these into the question box in terms of your answers for them, okay? Because just to get an idea of where you're at. So, first one is, is this you? Is this the way you typically wake up every morning? Do you wake up every morning and you're absolutely wrecked and you're reaching for the snooze button? And this is what you're pressing. Like, snooze button for me is one of the most stupid inventions, because if you're due to get up at 8 o'clock, we'll say, then set the alarm for 8 o'clock. What's the point in setting it for 15 minutes earlier, lying in bed dozing and actually getting worse and feeling absolutely wrecked? Because once you start going back into sleep mode, your body gets a shock when you go to wake up again. And that's why you feel so wrecked. Any of you who do use the snooze, I'm sure you can relate to that you're always feeling wrecked. And that's the big reason why. But do you use the snooze button? Or even if you don't, do you reluctantly reach for the alarm? So let me see here. A lot of people. Okay, great. A lot of people, snooze button. Yeah. A lot of people with the snooze button. Okay, so that's one thing I want you to change. Like, stop using the snooze button. How about this? Say during the day, is this how you're feeling? So you're feeling wrecked every throughout the day, dozing away. Obviously, you don't want to be driving and dozing, but if you're in buses or trains or anything like that, or even at your desk, it doesn't have to be, in transport, like the image shows. And then let's hit the afternoon. So I just want to show you throughout the day what's typically happening for most people. So throughout the day, is this how you're feeling? I know someone already said that it's in the afternoon they're feeling it. Well, here they go. So once you start hitting that afternoon, suddenly you start to feel wrecked, tired, and lethargic, and you're in need of a kick. And this is why most people do reach for the coffee. Like this guy here, he's 2 cups of coffee, he still isn't cured. And then how about at night time? When you find it hard to go to sleep, then when you get to sleep, you find it hard to stay asleep. You're waking up and maybe going to the toilet or being restless or waking up just wide awake, having nightmares, whatever it might be. Ron, yeah, I don't think this picture is you, but this is something maybe you can relate to. I'm sure most of you can relate to this because a lot of people have this issue. Okay. All right. So a lot of people are relating to these different things. So my promise to you after this presentation is that you're going to understand why you must create a positive association with your bedroom and sleep. Also, you will know the key elements to creating the perfect sleeping environment. You'll also understand how crucial the final 30 minutes before sleep actually are. You'll have the best sleep of your life this night, basically, because that's my guarantee to you. If you implement what I'm going to teach you over the next 45 minutes or so, you will have the best sleep of your life. And you're going to wake up each morning alert, energetic, and ready for action once you implement these steps. Again, like I said, it's not just about, learning this and making sense. If you don't take action, you're wasting your time. Okay, so it's very important, again, that you take action on all of this. And basically, this is the solution. If you've been having difficulty sleeping, both in terms of going to sleep and staying asleep and waking up fresh in the morning, that rarely ever happens, that normally you wake up and you're wrecked and you're definitely not raring to go. If this is kind of you, and also you're feeling the impact of your lack of sleep on your day and on your exercise and so on, this is what's going to be the solution. Once you follow these steps. Now, one thing, like I always stress in all the webinars, whenever we're given information and tips and strategies, take where you are right now and make improvements. It's very hard to go from where you are now to having it perfect, like what I'm going to outline. You might need to take a few steps. It might be a process over the coming weeks that you gradually make these changes, because for some of you, you will have a lot of changes to make. For some of you, it'll just be a couple of changes to make. Okay? So again, adjust your lifestyle as necessary. So in terms of sleep, like sleep deprivation is horrendous in what it does to the body, in the mind, psychologically wise, and your productivity, and then disease prevention, your body, the whole lot. So you can see all the different issues it causes. Like here, impaired performance at work, psychological problems, sexual problems, altered metabolism, gastric problems, obesity. A lot has to do with the hormone balance, and again, lack of sleep has a big impact on that. And as well, when you're finding it hard to sleep and you're getting frustrated, you're releasing a lot of cortisol, so that hormone causes a lot of fat storage too. And shift workers, anyone here is shift worker? So anyone on the call that's a shift worker, actually? Okay, so Ron has been a shift worker. Yeah, so you'll relate to, again, the difficulties of being a shift worker. And okay, we have a shift worker on at the moment. So being a shift worker can be really horrendous to your sleep. And I'm sure, Chris, you experienced that. Would I be right? Yeah, okay. So let me see. I'll just deal with this right now. Just in terms of the shift worker, anyone who's on a shift worker, what's really important is you treat your, whenever you're waking up, that's first thing in the morning. Even if that's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that's your start. You have to, in your mind, start treating that as if it is 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning. And then when you're going to bed, even if it's, if it's 10 o'clock in the morning, you treat that like it's 11 o'clock at night. So you have to psychologically adjust to that, depending on what shift you're at. And also, you have to treat the day, again, accordingly. So if you're up at 4 o'clock, it's as if it's 8 o'clock in the morning. It's breakfast time. If you're going to bed at 10 o'clock in the morning, again, it's like it's 11 at night. So you have to treat it the exact same way, okay? So it's like, exactly, pretend it's another time. It's like when people go traveling and they're going from different time zones. Like, say, when I've often gone to America and then come back again, I have to pretend I'm in Ireland as I'm on the plane. And when I get to Ireland, to just adjust my body clock. And as I said, it's like tricking your mind to some degree. So there's a certain amount mentally, and also there's a certain amount where it's in your organization and your planning, okay? So it's very important that you do that. Same for anyone. Some people might have to stay up late sometimes. You have to adjust around the situation. But for shift workers, it's, it's something you really have to focus on, because shift work just really throws you out. Does that make sense, Chris, or anyone else as well? Because you might know people who do shift work that you want to help out. So treat it, as I said, as if it's the first thing in the morning and the last thing at night. It's the exact same thing. If you're on a shift work where it's constantly changing, because I know some people might have 2 days on one shift, 4 days on another shift, it's constantly changing that way. That's even tougher, but again, treat it the same way, okay? Now, so let's learn a little bit about sleep. So if we think about it, we actually spend about a third of our lives asleep. Some people even lots more. Now, if we spend that much time of our lives asleep, don't you think we should know a bit more about it? But most people don't know anything about sleep. They just take it totally for granted and don't even realize how important it is. And this is why sleep is actually the fourth part of our formula for success, because it is such a crucial part. It knits everything else together. It's like your mindset, exercise, nutrition, all hugely important in getting results. And not just in your body in every kind of way. But if you don't get the right sleep, then the results can be minimal. compared to what they should be. Okay, so really it's important to understand sleep. Why do you sleep? What's the purpose of it in the first place? You need to rest and recuperate, and also for your muscles to recover. So if you exercise, your muscles are being broken down, all the fibers being broken down. So it's important for you to give them a chance to recover, and for them to rejuvenate themselves with nutrition and rest and so on. And just your whole body. It's like if we're driving around your car constantly, day in, day out, 24/7, don't you think it would break down? It can only go so far. It's the same with your body. You can't keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And that's why people who burn the candle at both ends, as the saying goes, people who burn the candles at both ends, they always end up burning out and getting wrecked and getting sick, and the immune system is compromised. So it's really important that you take the time to rest and recuperate and get a certain amount of sleep. So how much do you actually need? It's research has constantly proven that 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep is what's needed, and the key again is quality. And that's what the different steps I'm going to be sharing with you is going to be for. Okay, so by implementing the different steps, that's what it's going to do for you, is that it's going to give you higher quality sleep rather than quantity. Because there's lots of people who sleep even 8, 9, 10, 12 hours a day and they're still wrecked all the time. Anyone here relate to that? We actually will, even if it's just at weekends, that you sleep, more than 8 hours. Ron, in terms of quality sleep, I mean that at the end of it, so at the end of, say, if it's 7 hours or 8 hours, you wake up before an alarm, you're fresh as a daisy, you're raring to go, you're productive all day, you're not tired. You're tired at 9, 10, or 11 at night when you're going to go to bed, that's it, but you're fresh all day. That's what quality sleep is, because if you get quality sleep, you don't need that much of it. You need 7 or 8 hours maximum. Okay, so no one gets like 10 or 12 hours, no? Okay, a couple of you. Okay. Yeah. All right. Good. I see it's a couple of you. Okay, so that's what research has proven, and even myself, I used to think for years that 6 hours, 5 hours is more than enough. And up to a couple of years ago, I would have said to people, look, you don't need that much sleep. 5 hours, 6 hours is enough. I've done it for 12, 15 years. But again, what I've learned from researching it more thoroughly in the last 3 or 4 years especially, is that, if you want to do something, you can do it. So if I wanted to survive in 5 hours or 6 hours, I could. It would have become a routine, which it did. I did sleep for 6 hours for a number of years, sometimes even 5, and I was okay. I felt okay. But what it was doing to me, though, was internally it was upsetting my body, and internally it was compromising my health and my immune system. And that's why I've totally adjusted my sleeping pattern to, no matter what, I get 7 hours, and ideally 8 hours each night, no matter what time I'm going to bed, no matter what's going on. That's what happens. Before, I used to take pride in the fact that I only needed 5 hours and I was able to function. But that catches up. You can only do it for so long. Okay, so it's important, as I said, for you to get this amount of sleep no matter what. Yeah, Brian's pointed out a good point, and this is why I was bringing up about the hour of sleep. Brian's just saying the odd weekend he gets 10 hours of sleep, but he doesn't necessarily feel better for it, and that's the point. Normally you would feel way worse, and I'm going to cover a little later in terms of the whole body clock and sleep cycle and circadian rhythm, which is very important. Okay. So sleep benefits your alertness, memory, focus, overall health, muscle recovery, your productivity, so many different benefits. Even just take your mood, if you're cranky and moody in a day, a lot of times it's because of being tired. Tired and cranky, as the saying goes. So if you're feeling good and energetic and you've had good sleep, you won't be like that. It's going to be a lot more fun to be around, and you're going to be a lot more fun for yourself as well. The amount of sleep the amount you actually need does not decrease with age, okay? So average, newborn needs about 20 hours, so babies are constantly recovering. Remember I said what the reason is for sleep? It's a rest and recuperation, rejuvenation. 20 hours they need per day, that's a newborn baby. At 4 it's about 12, and then up to about 10 it stays in around 10 to 12. Even my son Max now, he's 7.5. Typically somewhere 10 to 12 hours is what he'd sleep, okay? Adult life, about 8 quality hours, and that's more than enough. And if you're getting more, it's too much. I personally believe you can get too much sleep, and that's why I was asking you earlier, in terms of who gets 8 or 10 or 12 hours sleep, you can definitely get too much sleep. And anyone who has experienced it, or anyone who thinks about the weekends when they do sleep more, you can relate to the fact you don't feel better, you feel worse. So sleeping more is not better for you. Okay, Brian said it there a while ago, Brian from London, that he feels typically worse from it when he does the odd time take more sleep. So 3 quick and easy steps to sleep better tonight, and remember it is tonight if you do this. Create a positive association with your bedroom for sleep, create a sleep conducive environment, select your pre-sleep activity wisely, and also we're going to briefly cover as well, what is circadian rhythm? Maybe some of you have never heard it or maybe just don't understand it. I'm going to tie in your natural body clock to that as well. Also, I'm going to be explaining to you the role alcohol and sleep plays with, alcohol and stress plays on your sleep, whether that's good or bad. I'm sure you can guess which it probably is, unfortunately. So let's go for the first one, okay? So first part is positive association. So the question, what do you currently do in your bedroom? Think about that. What do you currently do in your bedroom? And what you subconsciously think as you walk into your bedroom, okay? Now, what I mean by that is, for a lot of people, when they go into their bedroom, they're going to go and watch TV, okay? So they have a TV in their bedroom. And when it comes to I'm going to chill out and wind down, they go off up to bed and they're going and watching TV. Others, it's going on their computer. Now, it might be just surfing the net, may not be specifically working, but just kind of chilling out, surfing the net, looking up a few bits and bobs, maybe watching a movie, maybe listen to some music on the iPad or whatever it might be, okay? Others then it might be reading, do some studying, whatever it might be. Or for others, it's just simply to go to sleep, okay? And the association you've got with your bedroom is really, really crucial. It's the first step. That's why I have it as the first step in terms of what your brain thinks of when it's going to sleep. And as I say here, what are you subconsciously thinking as you walk into your bedroom? Like Ron, you're saying here you do a lot of studying in bed. So you take when you're going to go to bed and you're about to step into it, as you're moving into the bedroom, subconsciously you're thinking, right, study time. It shouldn't be this way. Your bedroom's for sleep. Just like the kitchen's for cooking, the dining room is for eating, the sitting room's for relaxing, the toilet's for doing what you do in the toilet, the garden's for going out in the garden. Every part of your house has a role. And every part of your house, we have a certain association with it. Like you wouldn't have a bat in the middle of your sitting room. Okay? So does that make sense? Can people understand that? So what we want to do is when you're going to sleep, you're going to sleep. So your bedroom is where you're going to be asleep. So you need to create that environment where when you walk into it, you expect to go to sleep. That's what you're doing. So subconsciously, you're expecting sleep. All right, does that make sense to everybody? I'm going to answer this question, Brian, because it is very relevant. So Brian just saying here, as I live in a studio flat, I do a lot of different things in my bedroom, living area. Establishing a single association is difficult. Now, that's a great point to make, okay? I'm delighted you brought that up. So for those who are in like studio flats, where everything is pretty close together, this is where, mentally we have such power. What I would suggest to you then, Brian, or anyone else that's in a similar situation, where, you don't have lots of divided rooms, and in essence, your bedroom is nearly, your bedroom is what was I going to say, is pretty much everything. It's your dining room, the whole lot as well. You could still box it off into sections. It's like your bed is in a certain part. So that kind of section, like imaginary lines, imaginary walls, that's when you enter that space. So your spatial awareness versus it being rooms this time. So that space is for sleep. That's it. So around that area, around your bed and the immediate environment, you're not doing things like working and so on. Whereas another space is where you might set up your laptop and do some work on it. And then obviously you've got the little kitchen area that you do the kitchen stuff on. Okay, so as I said, use the power of your mindset and your mind and create little spaces like imaginary lines, imaginary walls. But that room area by your bed, even if it is literally your bed, depending on how big your studio apartment is, that is only used for sleeping. Does that make sense? Ron, delighted. Ron's just saying here he already has a massive takeaway. Delighted it's helped you. Sacred space, it's a great way of putting it. Just seeing here. So Brian, does that make sense to you? See, you're the person who brought that up. Just checking this. Want to make sure again as we go through, if I answer any questions, that the person is happy with the answers, because that's the purpose of giving the answers. Okay, so make sure of this. So the room is for sleep. That's it. Okay, you're going to go to sleep. That's it. Let me just see here. Let me say use the process of changing. So he uses the process of changing into sleeping attire and not bringing my laptop onto the bed to establish a physical. Yeah, that's cool. So that's good, Brian. And anything else you can do to improve that, do that. All right. Okay, so that's the first thing. So that's the first step. So for everyone, from now on, positive association. So like for me before, I used to work a lot in bed. I used to be bringing my laptop in. I used to be studying. I used to be reading fitness books, local papers to get ideas what's going on locally. You know, on the phone, maybe, all that kind of stuff. Watching TV years and years ago. As a kid, as a teenager, I used to have a TV in my room and I used to watch it all the time. Okay? So, let me just get rid of that. So, you know, that was where I grew up, but I was always tired. Now looking back, I can see why. Okay, even though I was in bed early and I went to sleep reasonably early and I slept for a lot of hours, I still wasn't getting proper rest and sleep. So I wasn't getting that rejuvenation I needed. Okay? Ron, I'm going to come to that a little later. Ron's just asked about reading before sleep, so I'm going to bring that up shortly. Now, your sleep environment, that's the next step, okay? So we've covered before you even walk into the room, what are you subconsciously thinking? The next one is in the room. What is it like? And this is huge as well. Each of these 3 steps are massive, and the beauty of it is you can take action on each of them immediately, tonight. Your sleep environment is crucial. So what is the environment that you're sleeping in? This is exactly how your bedroom should look this evening. Like that. Pitch dark. There should be no light whatsoever. Okay, no light at all. So it's very important for you to, you know, make sure again your sleep environment is this way. And what you do is if you aren't in an area that's pitch dark, you know, say a typical one might be in the countryside or something, ideally is that you have blackout curtains. Okay, blackout curtains are fantastic. And you'd have noticed if you stayed, you know, when you'd stay in hotels, typically they have blackout curtains. I bet you know you get a deeper sleep the night you stay in hotels, and even sleep way longer because you go into a very deep sleep because of blackout curtains. So one thing is get blackout curtains for yourself. If you don't have blackout curtains, you know, maybe have shutters with curtains. It depends. If you're renting, it's going to be very different than when you're buying. So do the best you can if you're renting somewhere. If you own a house, you know, invest in your bedroom like this. Invest in what's going to make yourself sleep better. Okay? And if none of those are options for you, it depends on finance and so on, buy some eye shades. Okay? Just little shades, put them over your eyes, then you're in pitch darkness. That makes a massive difference. Really massive difference. Okay. Now, so other things, like I said, back cave, that's the first key thing. Another important thing is TVs. Okay, I mentioned earlier that you shouldn't have it anyway. Okay? You shouldn't be having TVs in the room, but there's more reasons than just the association. The other thing is when you have a TV in your room, what's happening is the radiation is being transmitted out through it when it's on. Now, even when it's off, so say when you press the button, turn it off and put it to standby, the same radiation is coming out of it. Okay, exact same radiation. So you're not switching that part of it off. And if that radiation is pumping out, it's keeping your mind active. Okay, so your mind stays really, really active if it's being stimulated. And that's what this radiation is doing. It's stimulating your mind. So it's very important that you don't ideally have these in anyway for the association purpose. You also don't have these things in the room on standby because of radiation. So the ideal thing is you don't have these in there at all. Now if you have them in the room, like a TV, you just want to have one there just in case. At least plug it out before bed. Do not have it on standby. Plug it out, okay? It's like when I go to a hotel, wherever I am in the world, one of the first things I do is I go and I plug out the TV because it's always left on standby. Because I'm probably not going to watch it anyway, but I plug it out so at least I don't have that radiation, okay? In general, like plug out everything that's electrical, anything that can be transmitting radiation, you know, mobile phones, clock, radios, the whole lot. Get them out. Ideally, don't have them in the room at all. Make sure the room is a good temperature as well, okay? Because if it's too warm, then you're going to find it very difficult to sleep as well. Also, mattress. Good mattress is a good investment. So, invest in yourself, invest in a good mattress, because that makes a big difference to the quality of your sleep as well. And then your clothes, what you actually wear in bed. It's very important that wear clothes that you feel comfortable with. And get a battery alarm clock. If you need an alarm clock, get a battery one, because again, that replaces the clock radio. Okay, so you don't want electric clock radios, you don't want TVs, you don't want computers. For so many people these days, they use their mobile phone as their alarm. Disaster. Mobile phones transmit so much radiation, and typically for most people, they actually have the mobile phone by their head. Okay, and for a lot of people, even they have it charging, which is even worse. So as it's charging, you're actually taking the current out of the wall and pumping it into the phone. The phone then has its own radiation as well. That's causing your sleep to be desperately affected. And remember, when I'm talking about this, I'm not saying that you're awake all the time. You are asleep. If I walk into your room last night, you will have looked asleep, but the reality is your mind is not asleep. So it's like separating the two, okay? So your mind is not asleep, but your vessel is there looking asleep. And this is where these things make a difference. And this is where so many people, many of yourselves I'm sure, have not realized that you have been sleeping very badly and how you can actually rectify it with some little tweaks, okay? So before we go on to that, I just want to see any questions. How about the sleep environment? Do people have many things they need to change? Has it made sense? So let me just read this here. I'm going to go through the questions we got here. So I'm going to be onto that shortly, Ron, about reading in bed. This is Brian, I think. Is it Brian in London? That's where I first actually heard about doing this eye shade, or eye mask it can be called. And then I got one on a Virgin Atlantic flight actually to the States. But Brian says he used an eye mask and gradually covers more and more of his eyes with it. Then I switch off the light next to the bed to plunge the room into relative darkness. Yeah, and when you have those eye shades on, it's pretty dark. Another thing to do actually before bed, is turning down the lights. If you've got dimmer switches, or instead of having the main light on, to turn on a lamp. Because when it starts getting dark like that, you're releasing melatonin. That helps your body and mind to expect to go to sleep soon. Let's see, Monique, and I might just rest of it. Yeah, sure. Definitely the rest of the bedding is very important too. But mattress typically is very important, it's of prime importance. Synthetic duvets make you sweaty and uncomfortable. That's true. So, in general, make sure the bedclothes are, comfortable for you. That's important. Okay, so everyone okay with the sleep environment? Has everyone identified something that they can do tonight to improve their sleep environment? As I'm sure for most of you, if you haven't heard this presentation before, you have created a positive association, or you're aware of how to create positive associations, just in case you're doing it. Yeah, like the mobile, right? For some people, they go to me, and they haven't over time, like clients and so on, and say, I have to have my mobile. I have to have my mobile on. Maybe you've got a family member who needs to call you potentially. Okay, so if it genuinely has to be on, well, what you do then is then put it as far away from you as you can. Ideally out in the landing even. Okay, if it has to stay on, put it as far away from you as you can. So if it does happen to ring, then you'll still hear it. Okay. So that's one way around that. Okay, with phones, yeah, definitely do not recharge by your head. That's something that's very important. Okay, so we got sleep environment. Let's go on to pre-sleep activities. What you do before bed is really important. For how many of you actually do this before bed? We're studying, whether it's, on the computer, surfing the net, whatever it might be. Okay, good few of you. Surfing the net. Guilty. Yeah. Until I am tired. Again, typical. It's like people watching TV. Again, throwing the same image here of someone watching TV. This is disastrous. What you do before bed determines the quality of your sleep. And remember, the quality of your sleep determines how well you wake up in the morning. If you wake up fresh, or if you wake up and you're really tired. Okay? And also that carries on for the day. Now, if you're very tired, you're not going to be very productive. So you're going to be only a fraction of the productivity that you should be able to have. Okay? So you're not thinking clearly. Your memory isn't as good as it should be. Your mood isn't as good as it should be. All right, so your cranky, as I said, all these things, make a huge difference. So it's really crucial that this is not what you do before bed in any form, especially as well, being stressed before bed. Look, the reality is some days you're going to have horrendous days and you're going to have a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, and you might be very worried about what's going on the next day. Also, the same thing applies to people who have exams, or there's a new business opening, or there's some big meeting the next morning. You're stressed about it, you're worried about it. That's natural, you're only human. But what you need to do is 30 minutes or so before bed to switch off and shut your brain down from thinking about it and park it to the next day. Because at that time of night, there's nothing you can do about it anyway, and what's the point in stressing about it? Now, easier said than done. But what you have to do is, again, mentally start pressing stop. Okay, 30 minutes before bed, press stop and let your stresses behind. And, if you're very stressed, then I'd recommend you do something that's very relaxing for you. some of the options I'm going to share with you shortly. But do something that's very relaxing that will take your mind off it, okay? Also, don't do this. Don't eat before bed either. Now, one thing, most of my images so far have been of guys. Just a coincidence, just the images I have. It's the same applies to women. In case women that are on the call, you're starting to feel, it's all guys. But it's just for both sexes, obviously. And same applies for kids. Any of you that have kids, exact same applies. This doesn't matter what age you are. Remember, the body works the same way. Now, you don't eat within 4 hours of bed. If you eat before bed, what's going to happen is the body will be in the process of starting to digest the food, and then you're stopping, and your body then can't digest it anymore. So it's like stuck in the gut, basically. And that makes it very uncomfortable for the body to go to sleep at all anyway. So that's going to be disruptive to your sleep. So make sure you don't eat before bed. That's very important. Also, before bed, make sure you avoid stimulants, okay? Any kind of stimulant is really, really important. I'll come back to that in the second run. So stimulants like coffee, cigarettes, also are stimulants, energy drinks, and alcohol. All major stimulants, and all have a big impact on your sleep. Okay. Now, coffee is one thing, is huge impact. Don't drink any coffee from about 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock on the day. A lot of people drink it even at night time. That's going to make such a massive difference. What is this thing keeps coming up? That's going to make a huge difference to how well you sleep, even if you can sleep, because coffee takes so long to get out of your system. Okay, so it's very important you don't have coffee before bed. Cigarettes, as I said, are a stimulant. For people who are big into cigarettes, it's hard for you to not have any cigarettes for a good few hours before bed, but do your best. Energy drinks are a disaster anyway, but especially again the stimulant factor before bed, because they speed up your heart rate and again stimulate your body and mind. Now let's come to alcohol. Alcohol again is a stimulant. Now a lot of people drink alcohol before bed because it helps to make them sleepy. Okay, at least it helps to put them to sleep. And there is a bit of a sleepiness kind of factor to it. However, this is like watching TV before bed. When people think, oh, I fell asleep watching TV and that made me tired and I fell asleep. That's not the case. You did start getting sleepy, you did fall asleep, your vessel looks asleep, but your brain and your mind are not asleep. They're motoring like crazy. The same happens with alcohol. When you have any alcohol in your system at night, the mind is not going to go to sleep. And also you're not going to reach deep sleep, which you need to reach deep sleep a few times in every sleep cycle in order to get proper restful sleep, so you feel better the next day, so you feel rested the next day. Okay, I'm going to cover that whole body clock, circadian rhythm shortly. But any amount of alcohol, doesn't matter if it's only one drink, it has a big impact on your sleep. And that's why, like, when people go out to the weekend and even if they have a couple of drinks, or if they go on a big session, they're tired all the time because, again, they have the alcohol in their system. They haven't got any proper sleep. As well as that, obviously, it gives you cravings, makes you want all the wrong food, both after it and the day after. So it's got a huge impact overall. But it's really important for you to, avoid alcohol before bed. Now, I'm not saying to never drink. What I'm saying is at least like Monday to Friday, avoid alcohol, because it will make a huge difference. And if you're in the habit of having like a drink at nighttime as like your reward and you're unwinding, cut that out because it's disastrous for you. Okay? So does that make sense in terms of the alcohol, everybody? Ron, you're asking, what if you're hungry? If you're hungry at night, that shows that you haven't eaten regularly during the day. So, that's a whole different webinar, but you should be eating every 3 hours or so during the day. And if you're eating the right kind of food every 3 hours, you won't feel hungry then within 4 hours of bed. Also, the right kind of food will keep your blood sugars stable, so you won't get the cravings, which again, most hunger at nighttime is. Just people craving, okay? You said about product launch, how stressful it is. Exactly, of course it is. This is where if you've got a big project at work, whatever it might be, sometimes you have to do a little bit more. You have to sleep a little bit less and work a bit more. And once that's occasional, once it's not something that's happening all the time, that's all right. But what you do is you implement the same strategies. You still make sure your sleep environment is good, you still make sure your association is right, and you still do your pre-sleep activities, which I'm going to cover shortly, even if you're only going to get 3 hours sleep, because at least that will mean you'll get a quality 3 hours sleep. Like my recent Formula for Success live event there a couple of weeks ago, I was going to bed about 12:30, getting up at 4:30, 5 o'clock. So I was only like 4.5 hours sleep a night. But it was only for those 3 days because, again, I had so much I need to do. But I was still doing my right pre-sleep activity. I still made sure the hotel room was as, sleep conducive as possible as well. So once you do these things, even if you for a couple of days have to only get minimal sleep, you will still feel all the better for it. And much better than those who are even getting 8 or 10 hours sleep. Does that make sense? Yeah, Monique, in terms of alcohol, definitely make sure you drink it, as far away from sleep as possible. Now, in terms of being beneficial to people's health to grow older, I'd like to read more on that if you have material that have some kind of proof or research in it, because to me that would sound like it's like just kind of good marketing. It's just something good to put out there that people like to hear, which is what a lot of the information that's put out there is. A lot of information put out there about food and everything, typically is for that reason. It's what people want to hear. But Monique, I'd love if you sent me on 8, and if there is actual research in that, send it on to me, because alcohol, from what I've researched and what I've experienced and people, clients and everything for years, it has a massive impact on the sleep. Okay, it's in Dutch. Okay, I'll have to translate it. But yeah, even if there's any English version, I would love to see it. Okay. Because like I said, I haven't heard that before, and I just know from experience and what I've looked into, the impact that alcohol has on your sleep is very negative. Ron, yes, every 3 hours what you need to eat. Now let me see here. Brian says here. Ron, you're going to send what to me? Brian, you're saying, I sit down to computer directly before bed. I don't sit down to computer directly before bed. It gets shut down 10 to 15 minutes before I climb into bed. Great. And even start pushing that to 30 minutes, okay? Because, the longer it can be, the better. You want ideally have about 30 minutes. Okay, so that's before bed, okay? Yeah, Ryan, there's a research paper in Dutch. So if you come across it, sure, send it on. That would be great. Okay, so what you need to do is 30 minutes before bed, press the stop button. Stop button on your day, stop button on your worries. So whatever you're worried about, you need to park and leave it for the next day, okay? Whatever you need to do, park it, leave it for the next day. Your only focus for 30 minutes is to get your body in a way that it's ready to sleep, okay? So you want to release as much melatonin into your body as possible so it will be in sleep mode. So things like having a nice bath or shower, listen to nice soothing music, doing some reading, doing some yoga and meditation, breathing exercises, what else there, Pilates, anything that's kind of good for loosening up your body, because most tension is held up in tight muscles. That's where the tension is. So it's important for you then to get rid of the tension by loosening it up. Just even doing 5-10 minutes stretching will relax your body a huge amount. Even breathing, just taking really, really deep breaths, so really sucking it in and then breathing it deeply out. You start to find that you start yawning after only 3 or 4. So start doing this, because you take those nights, like I said, when I went to bed at 12:30 or 1 and had to get up before 5 for my event, or any other time over the last few years that was similar. I didn't in some ways have 30 minutes to spend. If I finished around 12:30, I still need to get to sleep, so I would spend 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes doing a quick bit of stretching, stretching up my hamstrings, lower back, neck and shoulders. The main areas there's tension, so that might have been about 5 minutes, and then a minute or two then doing some deep breathing. Okay? So once you're doing something that's again going to wind your body down and make it relax, that's what's really important. So one of these activities, you'd said about, Ron, you'd asked about the reading side of things. Reading is great, but make sure it's the right kind of material. Reading's great to winding you down, but it needs to be like escapism or an autobiography or something that's totally non-work related. The second it's work related, what's going to happen is your mind again is going to get stimulated. It's like years ago, I used to read fitness books when I went to bed because I thought, look, it's great, I love reading them. So what better thing to read before bed? But what would happen is I'd have no sooner read a paragraph or a page when I'd get an idea. My mind's racing then. And I'd be there trying to sleep and find it hard to. And even when I'd go to sleep, my mind is still racing because that idea is still there. That's where I start dreaming about it. So, if you take about, again, if you're worried about something and you're worried about it right up to bed, you tend to have a very bad night's sleep and your dreams are filled, full of worry and nightmares. So whereas the opposite is true, that if you go to bed in a very relaxed state and even sit there and think about your goals and what you're achieving and what you will achieve, that's typically what you then will think about and dream about. And that makes a huge difference. Okay? Does that make sense? Everyone okay in terms of those 3 steps? Okay, that's great. Let me just grab a quick bit of water. So that's the 3 steps now. We've covered with the alcohol, the importance of wiping that out. Now, as Monique said, there is certain research that says that it's good to have a little drink, but make sure that it's a good few hours before bed. Get something I'll look into a bit more for sure. But definitely don't have it straight before bed. That definitely impacts it. I've said about stress and the importance of, leaving stress behind you for the day and leave it till the next morning, which again is probably the hardest thing to do. If there's something bothering you or worrying you or stressing you, it is very hard for you to just forget about it and get on with it and go to sleep, but you can do it. Remember, you can do it. Your mind is amazing and you can do whatever you want once you're in control of it, okay? So those 3 steps are very important. We do a recap shortly as well. So I want to explain to you the sleep cycle and the whole circadian rhythm situation because you need to understand these things. Now, remember I said about alcohol. Alcohol typically will stop you reaching REM, which is this step over here, number 4. Because REM, rapid eye movement, is when your body gets its deep sleep and gets to real rest. And you need to hit REM sleep 3 to 5 times a night to get proper rest and to feel really fresh in the morning. Now this cycle differs for everybody. For some people it's, an hour and a half. There's many different time periods. For me personally, I found it's about the hour, 20-minute mark or so. So, I'm better off to get, we'll say, 5 hours, 20 sleep than 6 hours, that type of way. So typically, I get about the 7-hour mark. 7 hours is good for me. And that's about 5 cycles, 5 deep sleep cycles. So it's important for you to be clear on what this cycle is, and again, getting from the different stages, from when you just close your eyes, turn off the lights, to where your heart rate and blood pressure gets affected, to go into a bit of deep sleep, getting repair, to going into really deep sleep, rapid eye movement in your dreams, and then coming out of it again. And the importance of you getting this cycle and having, a number of turns of the cycle throughout your sleep. So that's very important. Like if you don't hit rapid eye movement, then you're not going to feel rested. This is where people who sleep 10 hours, 12 hours a night even are still tired because they might be asleep, but they're not hitting rapid eye movement. They're not getting the proper rest. And that's where, whether it be worry or whatever it might be, or not having proper pre-sleep activities, they impact this rapid eye movement dramatically. Okay, so it's very important for you to make sure that you're getting the sleep cycle right. Now the whole circadian rhythm is, we all have a natural body clock, we all have a natural rhythm in our bodies for a lot of things, but especially as well for sleep. So what you need to do is, you need to create a routine, like with everything, create a routine for sleep. So when you're going to go to sleep and when you're going to get up, and do that every day religiously. I typically will go to bed at 12:30 and get up at 7:30. There's my 7 hours. My 30 minutes before, so from 12 o'clock, like midnight, to 12:30 is where I'll spend winding down, doing some pre-sleep activity. So like Monday to Friday I have that rhythm. Now if you take the weekends, like Friday night, Saturday night, I may be up later. I may stay up till 1:30 or 2 or something, but that'll just mean I'll sleep on then a little later. So if I go to bed at 1:30 or 1:30, I will wake up then at 8:30. Okay, once I'm allowed to get my proper sleep. So like I rely on my body waking itself up. Like last night I went to bed at 1:30. I woke up pretty much bang on 8:25. Okay, so this is what the power of being in control again of your body and control of the way it works. You know, it makes a huge impact to you in so many ways. And it's really, really important for you to, get control of it. Because having control is what makes you feel so much better, makes your body work at its optimum. Okay? So does that make sense to everyone in terms of what your internal body clock is for sleep and what circadian rhythm is? Everyone clear enough on that and the importance of it? Because it's a very important point to understand because it knits the 3 steps together. Okay, cool. All right. Exercise as well is very important. Okay, exercise makes a huge difference. This is why when people start exercising, they say immediately their sleep improves. Because when you exercise, you're breaking your body down, breaking down all the fibers and microfibers, so the body naturally wants to recover and regenerate itself. Remember I said at the very start, one of the major roles of sleep is for your body to rejuvenate and repair itself and muscle repair. This is what's happening, okay? So when you're exercising, the body wants to repair itself, okay? So you do actually feel more tired, more sleepy. So exercise is a great thing to have. It should be there anyway. It should be part of your routine and your exercise or your daily life. It makes a huge difference as well to your sleep, as does your nutrition. If you eat all the wrong foods, you'll be lacking certain vitamins and minerals to help you to sleep. Okay? So really watch how your nutrition is and taking in lots of antioxidant-rich foods like fruits and veg and berries and such foods, because they're the kind of foods that make such a huge difference to your sleep as well. So exercise makes a big difference. Another thing to do actually, which is great, is a sleep diary. Okay? If you have problems sleeping, especially because, it's like someone doing a food diary for me. If something's not happening right, the results aren't right, or like with sleep, you're not sleeping right, or you're waking up a lot of the time, or you find it hard to go to sleep, start using a sleep diary. Like write in, when you're going to sleep, what time it is, when you wake up, what's happening when you wake up. Are you waking up going to the toilet? Are you waking up worried? Are you waking up and going straight back to sleep? Are you having night sweats, nightmares? What's the trend? What's the trend before you go to sleep in terms of getting to sleep and staying asleep? And then when you wake up in the morning, how tired are you? How many hours sleep are you getting? If you ever want to fixate or improve anything, keeping a diary makes a huge difference. So I'd strongly recommend to any of you who are having a lot of trouble with your sleep, start doing a sleep diary, even if it's only for this week, okay? Like it says here as well, when you're sleepy, you should be awake and alert. Like your daily life at work. You should be getting tired at 3 or 4 o'clock. There's reasons why it's happening. So let's identify them and then wipe them out. And that's where the diary comes in. It makes a huge, huge difference. So let's do a bit of a recap here. So recapping, the 3 steps. 1 is create a positive association with the bedroom for sleep. Very important. Step 2, create a sleep-conducive environment. So make sure, again, it's pitch dark, as dark as can be. No electrical equipment plugged in, or ideally not even in the room. Make sure it's a nice temperature. Make sure your bed is of good quality, mattress, duvets, the whole lot. Make sure what you wear is comfortable yourself. So that sleep environment is, again, it's created for sleep. Then your pre-sleep activities, make sure you choose them wisely. Okay? Make sure it's not watching TV or on the computer or on your phone or studying or anything that's stimulating. Make sure it's something that relaxes you, like having a bath or shower, like, hold on a second. This thing's after going off a bit. I don't know what the thing is that keeps popping up. Reading, resting, relaxing, breathing exercises, stretching, any of these kind of activities make a huge difference to your sleep. Okay, so make sure, again, choose pre-sleep activities. that are helpful. Also, we explained about circadian rhythm, the body clock, your the impact of alcohol, and also stress on your sleep too. From this information, as I promised you at the start, you'll have a great sleep. Do these things tonight. Identify what you haven't been doing, whether it be the association, whether it be some points of the sleep environment, whether it be some points of the pre-sleep activities. For some of you, maybe it's the entire lot, but make a change. Make some changes tonight. I can guarantee you're going to feel an impact on your sleep. And let us know. I want to hear what the impact is on your sleep. One other quick thing before I go to some questions. I've written a book on sleep, and I'd love you to have it. It's only $2.99. So depending on what currency you're in, basically it's cheap. It's very cheap, and it covers everything to do with sleep. Okay, so I would love you to have a copy of it. It's only $2.99 right now. It is going to increase, but for you can get it for $2.99 still. And I'm just going to put this in here if you'd like to get it. And also, I'd appreciate if you'd spread the word about it as well. Tanya CC, 3 Steps Sleep ebook. So I said $2.99 is the cost of it. Again, I've kept it very low because I want to make sure, it's something that can get in the hands of many people all over the world. Okay? Because sleep is something that impacts everybody. Sleep is something that people struggle with everywhere. So by implementing what I've shared in this book, just like I've shared in the webinar, I've shared a lot with you over the last 45, 50 minutes. The book develops a bit more on a lot of those points. And as well, it gives you a handy guide to go back to all the time, to be able to check back if something's going wrong with your sleep, be able to go back and check, what can I change? What is it that maybe I should have been doing? Okay? So it makes a huge difference, and it's a great resource, and it's, all my information on sleep. And as I said, sleep is the 4th part of my 4-part formula for success. Mindset, exercise, nutrition, sleep. And that's why it's the final part. It's when your body rejuvenates and regenerates itself and recovers the muscles. If you don't have it, your body won't recover properly. Okay? And the same for everything. Productivity, for your work, for your relationships. Again, think about when you feel cranky and tired. That's no good for you either. Okay? So it's very important that you're feeling fresh to daisy every morning, you're raring to go, and you're basically, working at your optimum. That's something that's really crucial. Okay, so go there, grab your book. It's only $2.99. It's for nothing. Okay, in euros, that's probably about €2. All right. Okay, I'm just going to check through any questions. Ron, yes, that was my son. Let me see what else we got here. So guys, any questions you have, any comments? You can always like to hear comments as well from people in terms of whether you enjoyed the webinar and the content and so on. Chris, great question. Does napping affect quality sleep? Personally, I don't like napping. Again, this is from personal experience and also from clients and people I've looked at and researched. Now, I know for some people, napping works brilliantly, and having their power nap in the afternoon really revs them up. But it's my belief that for most people it doesn't. It does the opposite, because once your body starts going to sleep, and once it starts going through the first few minutes and then starts getting deeper and deeper, it expects it's going to be asleep for 8 hours or so, because that's typically what sleep is. Now when you start getting woken up at 15 minutes, if that's your power nap, it wrecks you. Okay, and again, it's not for everybody, but for a lot of people. Okay, the majority, I would say. So it's no different than what I said to start about the snooze button. If you press the snooze at, say, 7:45 to get up at 8, you're not going to be awake at 7:45 and staying awake 15 minutes. Because you press the snooze, you're going to start dozing and getting into deeper sleep. And when the full alarm goes off at 8 o'clock, it's going to be too much of a shock. You're going to feel way worse than you did 15 minutes previous. So for me, I think it's best to just make sure your sleep time is high quality and get rid of the naps. But it says different for everybody. Let me see here. Okay. Monique, thanks for that link. I'll check it out. Let me see, who's this? Ron, great. This was a great webinar. I've gotten a few major insights. I will move my mobile phone to the living room, my clock, radio, and telephone too. All the electrical stuff, and I won't study in the bedroom anymore. Fantastic. Great, this made an impact on you, Ron. And like for everybody, take action on it. Any other questions here? How would everyone else find it? Everyone else, enjoy it? Everyone got some tips? Because again, that's the purpose of it. That's my goal with this. Okay, let me see here. I've got to get, Brian, is it? Got to get about a great webinar. It's always good to have reminders of these simple, yeah, exactly. So, like yourself, you do a lot of these things, just start doing a few more of them that you're not doing right now. Okay, Monica, got that link. Thanks for that. All right, guys, remember, again, go to the link and grab my ebook. Be delighted if you can grab it. And also, please recommend it to your friends and contacts. Everyone needs to learn how to sleep better, okay? So go and help others as well. Monique, thanks for staying up. Ron, too. If anyone else is from Holland or anyone else it's really late for you, well done. Thank you for staying up. Again, it's an investment in your time. That's where, be very proud of yourself that you've invested in you. That's always a crucial thing to do. So those who have purchased the ebook, go and enjoy it. I said share it, implement it. And also, I look forward to speaking to you again on our next call. Our next call, again, every Tuesday is when our call is on. So look forward to speaking to you next time. And take care of yourself. This is Dave Sheahan wishing you continued success.